What's up, everybody? This is the Sports League podcast. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got the co-host Amanda on the show. Good to have you back, Amanda.
Good to be here as always.
Hell yeah! And week 2 is underway. Thursday night, we had the 0-1 Vikings at the 1-0 Eagles. Um, so you kind of called this? You said the Vikings were going to be sloppy in this game. How did you know that the Vikings were going to be so sloppy?
I mean, just you know how I get my gut feelings about football games. They're missing the magic they had last year. They have some key players who carried the team, and I just don't think they're going to be the same without them. And I was right. They were sloppy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
receiving power that they're missing, and they're relying far too heavily on their receiving game, and their running game is a nightmare. And it played out exactly as I predicted.
Yeah, they're missing veterans. They don't have Adam Thielen. They didn't bring back Dalvin Cook, and you're seeing some early season struggles. They actually take a 7-3 lead in this game, and that's the last time they led. Jalen Hurts, what do you think of that Jalen Hurts Eagles patented quarterback sneak? Do you think there's a lot of talk right now about should that be illegal? What do you think on that?
Oh, that booty push.
Yeah.
I mean, it's working for now. Why should that be illegal? Like,
I don't everyone like overreacts. Like if something works or is tough to stop, everyone wants to overreact and make a rule change over it. And it's like, man, defenses adjust and stop it. Find a way to stop it, you know?
yeah, I mean, they didn't outlaw the hard count, and that worked against everyone when Aaron Rodgers didn't. Like, it's stupid. If you can't beef up your defensive players enough and like they do it in situations where you absolutely expect them to do that. Like if you
Yeah,
can't get a hold and get the stop there, that's on you.
exactly. And defenses just need to adjust. I'm a defense first fan kind of guy, but there's so many rules in the offense's favor, but I'm not trying to change that. Like just figure out a way to stop it. It has been really successful. They were 9 of 10 in those situations last year and are like 2 of 2, 3 of 3, perfect so far this year. So it's a very tough play to stop. And Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, is really good at
He's just a big guy. Lots of cushion for the pushing, I guess.
it. Um, so then the Eagles are up 10-7, and here come the Vikings trying to take the lead towards the end of the first half. A 30-yard pass to Justin Jefferson, but he fumbles at the 1 yard line. It goes out of bounds, and it's a touchback over the pylon. And everyone wants to change this rule as well. What do you think on the touchback rule?
Oh, I think it's fair. I mean, they weren't on fourth down. There was no reason to rush it into the end zone unless he knew he had full control of it.
Yep,
It's a cockiness thing. They do it because they just want to show off and they want to go for it instead of using their brains and making sure that the team in the game are going to be okay if they mess it up. Like if you don't have full control of the ball, go out of bounds. Get the
exactly.
yardage, go for it on the next down. It was stupid to go for it there, and he clearly was completely out of control that entire end of that play there. He should have just taken a step out of bounds and let the play die where it should have died.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, if if in those situations possession of the ball, especially near the goal line, is most important. Like of any place on the field, you have to value possession when crossing the goal line. And so I'm completely on board with leaving it the way it is. If you fumble there and it goes out of bounds, you should be penalized for it. And yeah. And I think mostly it's fans that are like mad that their fantasy team didn't get a touchdown there. That's what I think it comes from. Like, but you got guys like Mike Florio and Ian Rappaport and these guys pushing a narrative that it needs to be a rule change, and I just disagree. Like, leave the game alone, you know?
Yeah, that's one of those situations where I think it comes down to the individual thought process. Like you have players who are more cerebral with their decision making, and they're gonna, think that through ahead of time and make sure that A, they have control, or B, they step out of bounds so they're not losing control over the end zone. It's the players who are just going for it for the glory and they want to be the one who got the touchdown because they want to look good that are going to be the ones who have the issue with the rule.
Yeah. And even Justin Jefferson post game said that's on me. I have to be smarter in that situation. I hurt my team with that play, and he has no problem with the rule, right? He knows that he has to be smarter.
I
So,
did, I mean, he's one of those players, like he carries the team. Like he knows what he's doing. That was
yeah.
his mistake. He recognizes it. I don't understand why, the couch quarterbacks and the at-home NFL coaches who think they know what they're talking about have an issue with it if the players who are involved in that play don't have an issue with the rule.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. And then how about Jake Elliott? The Eagles, take advantage of that mistake by the Vikings, and they come down, and Jake Elliott makes a 61-yarder to end the first half and increase their lead to 13-7. Hell of a kick by Jake Elliott.
Oh, it was a great kick. I called him baby Justin Tucker before that kick because I mean, if he makes it, like, go ahead, take the title. But I mean, I think
Absolutely.
that was a great comeback for him because he missed that 55-yarder earlier in the game, which that could mess with someone's confidence. As a kicker, you miss a 55-yarder, like going for a 61-yard. I've seen like kickers just, scrap anything after that first missed kick in the game, but he came back and he made it, and that I feel like really helped kind of enforce their like, all right, the Eagles are gonna win this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take positive momentum into halftime. And everyone talks about the touchback as like that was kind of what decided the game. I disagree. I think what decided the game is you come out in the second play of the second half, Kirk Cousins gets strip sacked, and the Eagles get the ball deep in their own in Minnesota territory. That play right there decided the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, Josh Sweat and Fletcher Cox really handled that play very well. It was
Yeah,
some great eyes on the ball, and there were a lot of turnovers in this game, and they were
yeah,
just right place, right time, and they were going for the ball.
yeah. The Eagles' defense is nasty. They're so deep and so talented. They're going to be a problem. And you saw it. I mean, the Vikings were too unbalanced, too one-sided, and against a very talented defense like Philly, that's going to cost you every time. Um, did you see? So the Eagles are winning, and they're about to be 2-0, and they went to the Super Bowl last year. And did you see AJ Brown kind of getting into it with Jalen Hurts about not getting enough targets in this game?
I did. Did you see afterwards? He's got a lot more attention. I mean, I think
Yeah.
he's an outspoken player and he's very passionate. I know that, head coach kind of stepped in and kind of cooled him off there, but
Hmm.
sometimes you need to advocate for yourself. And it seemed to work. I mean, he got a lot more looks after that dispute. Like I know Hurt said that everyone wants to contribute after the game and they were kind of going back and forth with how to spread the ball around, but it's it's fair for him to get a little heated and want to contribute more, but it's also fair for the coach and the quarterback to throw the ball to who they think is gonna, be there in the right moment and design plays around different things. Like AJ Brown is a well-known player. People have sorted his game out. They've got rookies they can use who people don't know yet. So take
Yeah.
advantage of some of the newer players. Like I'm sorry, AJ Brown didn't feel like he was being respected in the game, but defenders are still on him. So he is pulling defenders away from the team win. He is
Yeah.
helping contribute by helping, disperse the defenders across the field. So I think AJ Brown needs to cool it a bit and let coach handle things and maybe keep those conversations for after the game. But he got his way, so maybe it's effective for their team.
Absolutely. You make a great point there about how great players can affect the game when they're not even getting targeted by just drawing double teams and drawing the attention of the defense away from other players. Um, and people make too big of a deal out of stuff like this. Like natural in the heat of the moment arguments or or intensity on the sideline is perfectly fine. That's going to happen in a battle, in a game. And AJ Brown is one of the most biggest monsters at the receiver position in the entire league, and he's the furthest thing from a diva. So him speaking up and reminding Jalen Hurts, like, look, try to get me involved. If he's open and Hurts missed him, then that would piss anybody off.
Yeah.
And naturally, if you want to be successful, you do want to try to get a weapon like AJ Brown involved. So I had no problem with it at all.
Yeah, I agree. Well, speaking of receivers, I mean, the Vikings threw on 77% of
Yeah.
that's crazy to me. Like I
So
know
far,
their team is different than it was last year, but you messaged me today and said 88 passes versus 26 runs. That
yeah,
is so lopsided. It
yeah.
it it mind boggle like it's you have to be so much more balanced than that if you want to do anything, especially when I mean their defense tried, they put an effort. They don't have a bad defense. I won't say they have one of the top five defenses either right now. However, you have to balance that run game, and they need to figure out who their next big running back producer is going to be because that was a hot mess.
Well, and I called this in the off season. So they've got Kevin O'Connell, who comes from the Sean McVay offense. We know that's kind of pass heavy.
Pass happy.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, the new GM is an analytics guy, and you know how analytics feels about the running game.
Yeah.
And then they let Dalvin Cook go, and I'm like, Alexander Madison, while he's a good running back too, he's not Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is at least a top 10 back in the league, in my opinion, borderline top five. And Dalvin Cook impacts the game not only in the running game, but as a pass catcher, as a pass blocker, as a locker room leader. And you take him away, and then you draft Jordan Addison, and you make Justin Jefferson the focal point of the offense, and you trade for T.J. Hawkinson. And the Vikings have just gone so far one-sided, so far pass happy, and look what it's got them. They're 0-2.
Yeah.
And we talk about that 88 to 26 or whatever difference. In this game last night, it was 44-9.
Yeah.
44 pass attempts to 9 runs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I mean, some of those passes paid off. There was that 62-yard touchdown pass to the rookie, Jordan Addison. So, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they do have receiving talent, but you can't do that on every play. There are many situations where you just need 3, 4, 5 yards, and that is not going to be a passing play. And they really need to sort that out.
Yeah, and especially Kirk Cousins, right? Cousins has his struggles even when you're balanced and
Mhm.
catching the defense off guard. When you're predictable and the defense knows you're going to pass, how do you think Kirk Cousins is going to perform then, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I like the guy. He has talent, but there is some lack of support in the areas that he needs support right now. I
Yeah.
mean, that 5-yard touchdown pass to Hawkinson was great, but that could have easily been picked off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
just put
his
more.
his short range throws are not the cleanest. And even
Yeah.
his long range throws, that Hail Mary attempt, I don't even know what he or who he was aiming for there. Like that was a hot mess. Like trying to be Aaron Rodgers, that's cute, but you have to at least try to have people in the right spot. And if you need to run the ball, have someone you can hand the ball off to who you trust to run the ball.
Yeah. You give Kirk Cousins a clean pocket and stay balanced and all that, he can be a solid quarterback for you, but I just don't think it's sustainable to win games consistently in the NFL if you're that unbalanced. And Justin Jefferson's going to get his stats. He goes for 11 catches, 159 yards. The first player with 150 plus receiving yards in the first 2 games of the season since Steve Smith with the Panthers in 2011.
Oh my God, I didn't
Um,
realize that. That's crazy.
yeah, so he's going to go off. He's going to have incredible stats. But my worry is it going to lead to wins? And I think this is going to be a down year. I could see the Vikings winning 7 or 8 games this year and missing out on the playoffs. What do you think?
I mean, they have some young running back talent. I would like to
Mhm.
see them take advantage of these two losses and kind of acknowledge their gaps there and kind of get them more into the mix. Um, I I hope to see them come out of the next 2 weeks with a win and some corrections made because they're a fun team. You start getting down
Mhm.
the line. I mean, the NFC North is a very strange place right now. So they could take advantage of that. So hopefully they acknowledge and work on some of those gaps in the run game.
So their next three games, they face at home against the Chargers. So that's no slouch of Justin Herbert coming into town. They're gonna have to put up a lot of points. At the Panthers, that's a winnable game, but it's a road game, and then versus the Chiefs. So it doesn't get any easier. I mean, this team could legit be 1-4 through 5 games.
But they had that magic last year. If they can capture a bit of that, I mean, the Chargers coming in, I mean, we'll see what happens this week at the Titans, but I mean, the Chargers could be 0-2 going into
Hmm.
their game against the Vikings. I could see the Vikings pull off a win there if they
Yeah,
address that run issue. And then the Panthers, they should be able to win that as well. I mean, so they might start out 2-2 if they can get
yeah.
it together. And then the Chiefs is going to be a tough game regardless of who you are.
Hmm.
But from there on out, I mean, it's a couple division games. They play the Niners and the Packers and the Bears over 3 weeks. I mean, there's a chance for them to turn the season around. They just really need to get a win next week.
Yeah, and just a tough way to start the year. I mean, they should have beat the Bucks, in my opinion. That's a game at home. They should have won that. They need to be 1-1 right now. And the fact that they're 0-2 is not a good sign, and they're so unbalanced. Week
Yeah.
three, big game. Home against the Chargers. That's a big game. You don't want to start 0-3 because then it starts to snowball.
Yeah, that game will kind of assign their trajectory for the season, I think. If they
Yeah.
win that one, they can turn it around. If they lose that one, I think we're pretty much scrapping the season for them.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, interesting times in Minnesota. Do you have any other thoughts on that game, the Thursday night game?
I mean, it was fun. It was a great watch. I liked being right. That Philly D line was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Missed kick was predictable for me. Um, I mean that it was a fun game to watch. It was good football, entertaining at least, not necessarily good play. But I mean, we'll see where they go.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're right there with the Niners as contenders in the NFC, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was the Eagles Niners NFC Championship game rematch.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the obvious decision from here. Like no one else
Yeah.
is really surprising anyone. Maybe the Lions,
Maybe the Cowboys.
maybe the Cowboys. I hate to say that because they didn't really play an opponent last week. Hey, the Giants just didn't show up to that game. I feel like anyone could have beaten that Giants team. So, yes, the Cowboys looked good, but it was mostly because their opponent looked awful. So, I don't want to really say too much about the Cowboys quite yet because that was a really weird game.
Hot take, or I don't know, at this moment, maybe it's a hot take. I'm not ready to give up on those Giants yet. I like those Giants going into this season. I thought they're a better team than they were last year. I like Brian Dable a lot. I think the Giants turn it around, bounce back. I still got the Giants making the playoffs this year.
Oh, I'm not counting them out for the year. A week one crap loss is nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I mean,
Yeah.
the Packers have made the playoffs and gone to the championship game multiple times with a week one loss. So I
Yeah.
mean, you haven't had all your starters starting in the preseason. Preseason has been shorter. There's a lot of changes in the locker room and stuff during the few weeks leading up to the regular one can be your mulligan if you need it to be, as long as you bounce back and correct the mistakes.
Absolutely. Good call on that. So let's look ahead to week 2, Sunday, and kind of go through these games real quick. Your Packers, the 1-0 Packers at the 1-0 Falcons. The Packers went into Chicago, got a win. The Falcons, I think, are going to be a better defensive test for Green Bay for Jordan Love and that offense. Hopefully, you get Christian Watson back. We'll see if Aaron Jones plays. I expect him to. How are you feeling about your Packers going into Atlanta to take on a talented Falcons team?
I'm feeling okay about it. I really liked how our rush defense played last week. We were ranked, I think, 26th or 27th in rush defense last year, which was a hot mess. But they held the Bears to 2.8 yards per rush. So I have high hopes for our defense against Atlanta. And I know that the quarterback in Atlanta, Desmond Ritter, has thrown no interceptions in any of his starts. However,
Yeah.
our defense has got some sticky hands this year. So I'll be intrigued to see how that goes. But I do predict the Packers winning that one, probably by more than a touchdown.
Okay. Um, I think this is a good test because I'm not a big Desmond Ritter fan so far, but I love that they got two excellent running backs in Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London. There's a lot of talent there. And then Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, a lot of Jesse Bates on that defense as well, and a good coached, a well coached team. I'm a Bears fan, so I'm kind of rooting against the Packers a little bit, but I got Atlanta winning this game at home, I think. Now this is a big prove it game to me for Jordan Love, a tougher defensive opponent. If Jordan Love goes out there and throws 3 touchdowns and no turnovers again, then the entire NFL is going to have to be like, uh-oh, Green Bay might have a quarterback. So
Yeah.
can he do it 2 weeks in a row on the road? That'll be very impressive and a much better test this time against Atlanta. I have no faith. I think my Bears suck. So I wouldn't put too much faith in that Bears game. Let's see how they look against Atlanta.
I'm also intrigued by the coaching matchups here because there's a lot of history there. Um, the Falcons coach Arthur Smith and Matt LaFleur, they worked together in 2018 in Tennessee, and then
Right.
Atlanta's assistant coach Jerry Gray coached the Green Bay secondary for the past 3 years. So
Okay.
there's some inside knowledge there. So it'll be interesting to see if that gives Atlanta a bit of an edge.
Yeah, that should be a really competitive game. I think that's a, fourth quarter, one possession game. Let's see who wins it type of game, I think. So that'll be interesting. That's a game to keep an eye on for sure.
Agreed.
How about the 1-0 Raiders at the 0-1 Bills? I mean, Buffalo better show up to this one at home opener. The Raiders look better than anticipated in week one, and Buffalo looked terrible. And Josh Allen needs to bounce back, 4 turnovers in his opening game, and in his post game press conference, he was very frustrated and mad at himself and saying same shit, different day. And Mike Carney, who me and you interviewed, broke it down really well and said Josh Allen just needs to take what's there and not force it and not try to, make a great play every time he drops back. How do you see this game going? A great opportunity, in my opinion, for Buffalo to bounce back and look really good against Vegas.
I think Buffalo has this one. They haven't lost back-to-back home games in I can't even remember when they're 11 straight home wins right
Yeah.
now. So
Wow.
I'm definitely picking Buffalo here. And Hunter Renfrow is going to have to step up because you've got Devontae Adams with his foot injury, and then their number two receiver, Jacoby Myers, has the concussion. So
Yeah.
I don't have that much faith in the Raiders receiving core right now. I mean, he has caught what's been thrown his direction. He's not, dropping things, but I mean, I don't see them coming back, and I know that Buffalo is going to be nursing some wounds there and coming out ready to win. And give me the Bills at home anytime,
Mhm.
especially against a team who's missing some of their key receivers. You and I agree on the Bills at home there for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm gonna pick the Bills probably by 8 to 10 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills they're pissed off. It's their home opener. They know they need to play better, and I think this is a game where you can shut up the haters, shut up the doubters, and prove that you're a contender, and take care of business against a Raiders team that I just don't think is that good. And Josh Jacobs, kind of struggled in week one. If the Raiders are going to do anything, Josh Jacobs needs to go for like 150 and 2 touchdowns, in my opinion.
That would be impressive.
Yeah. I love this matchup. The 1-0 Ravens at the 0-1 Bengals. These are, in my opinion, the two best teams in that division. Joe Burrow struggled in week one, throws for just 82 yards. Now it was bad weather, and the Browns defense looked really good. So I think the Bengals do bounce back and look a lot better in week two. Question is it enough to get the win over a very talented Ravens team and a very good defense over there as well? How do you see this game going?
Um, I know that the Bengals are going to try real hard not to lose this one because starting 0-2 in a big division matchup is going to be a
Yep,
challenge.
yep,
Um, three of Burrow's four lowest total QBR games from last year were against the Ravens, so this is going to
yeah,
be kind of a grudge matchup for him. But I think they have Cincinnati has the edge here because um, two of the best offensive linemen for the Ravens are going to be out this week. Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum are both out. So as long as that defense can stop Jackson from running, he doesn't have protection. He's going to be scrambling. So as long as the Cincinnati defense can show up and get the stop on Jackson, I think that they can handle this one. Um, Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. He got in his head. It was a tough week for him, but I think they can recover. So it'll be an interesting matchup for sure. But
yeah.
I mean, this one's a toss up for me. I'm on the fence about who's going to win it, but I think the Bengals will pull it off.
Yeah, I'm the Ravens are my AFC team. Roquan Smith is my dude. Lamar Jackson is back healthy. If you remember, the Ravens and Bengals met in the playoffs last year, and Tyler Huntley led Ravens were right there. A quarterback sneak away from potentially winning that game, or at least forcing overtime. So with Lamar Jackson back, it looks like Mark Andrews is expected to make his season debut. Reliable go-to pass catcher there. Zay Flowers looked great in week one. I'm rooting for the Ravens. I think I'm going to pick them to win, but not super confidently. The Bengals are at home. The Bengals need it. The Bengals should be desperate. Like you said, you don't want to start out 0-2 with two division losses. Like that would be a terrible start for Cincy. So they better bounce back and beat the Ravens. There's a lot of pressure on Cincy for a week two game.
Yeah, and what you were saying about Zay Flowers, he really impressed me, and I think the Ravens have a better receiving core this year. I mean, he gained 54 yards after the catch in his first game, which is
Yeah,
insane. That's the second most in a rookie receiver's first career game since 2020.
I think.
He's going to be so
Yeah,
good for that team. But I'm still going to pick Cincinnati to win. Just I don't know. I just have a feeling.
yeah, I agree with you, and I think Zay Flowers is going to do that all year. Like that's what he was doing in college. And when I pulled up his highlight tape, I didn't know much about him doing the draft and pulled that up. You could see it, and he was doing the exact same thing in week one. The dude is get the ball in his hands and watch him make shit happen. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah. I think it'll be a great game. That's going to be one of my favorite game matchups of the week for sure.
Absolutely. 0-1 Seahawks at the 1-0 Lions. This is a big matchup. I expected a lot from Seattle going into this year. I thought they were going to be better than last year. And they start out with such a dud against the Rams, get beat at home and by quite a bit, by like 17 points. Um, they, I expect them to bounce back. They have to be pissed off about the way they started the season. You need to get the ball in Kenneth Walker's hands. You got to get Jackson Smith and Jigba more involved in the offense. DK Metcalf. Um, but it's a tough game. The Lions are feeling themselves. They beat the defending champs in week one. This is their home opener. That crowd, that home field is going to be nuts at Ford Field. Do you think the Seahawks can overcome that environment and get a big road win, or do you think Detroit's going to be 2-0?
Oh, I think Detroit's going to win this one. they just beat the defending Super Bowl champs. Granted, it's a different team than they had in the Super Bowl. There were a lot of, shifts there. But I mean, they just came off a week one win against the Super Bowl champs. There's no way Detroit is letting this one go. And this could be the first time in NFL history that two teams have combined for more than 80 points in three consecutive matchups. Um, I mean, Detroit and Seattle, I think Seattle won 48-45 last year. And then in 2021, it was 51-29. This could
Wow.
be another high scoring shootout. And I know that Detroit is missing their tackles this week. So Jackson Smith, Najigma has a great opportunity here to just kind of take advantage of that. So I think it's going to be a shootout unless, Seattle doesn't show up like they did last week or like they didn't last week. Um, but I'll be intrigued to see if the, Legion of Boom 2.0 can break Jared Goff's 359 consecutive passes without an interception because he's third in history right now. So I'll be
Bold,
intrigued to see if they can break that streak.
two bold predictions coming from Alex for this game.
All right, hit
Uh,
me.
Seattle goes in it. So this is what the Lions are, right? We watch the Lions being in the NFC North. We've seen the Lions since forever. This is what the Lions are, and everyone wants to think the Lions are different. This is the year they're different. Dan Campbell, this team's built to win the division, something they've never done. Go on a deep playoff run. This is what the Lions do. They go and beat the Chiefs, and everyone's ecstatic. And now the expectation is win at home, right? Here's where Seattle comes into Detroit and makes everything right in the football world and beats the Lions at home. The Seahawks get back on track, and bold prediction: Jared Goff's interception streak ends in week 2. Quandre Diggs, the former Lion, gets it done.
Hey, I like it. Yeah, we're gonna watch out for that. I am all for that streak breaking. He's getting a little too close to Aaron Rodgers. But I just don't I know it's the Lions, and as a Packers fan, I have, called them the short bus of the NFC North for years, but it is a different team. I mean, Jared Goff, I think, is a bit overhyped, but based on what we saw last week, I just can't pick against the Lions at home.
Man, it was a different team when it was Stafford and Calvin Johnson and Donkey Kong Sue. Like I've seen different Lions teams. I gotta see it to believe it. I don't trust them. And this Goff interception streak makes no sense to me at all because Goff is reckless with the football his entire career. It's got to end. This is where the Lions are winning and Goff isn't turning the ball over. That goes against everything that I've been led to believe my entire time watching football. Eventually, things are going to come back down to earth, and reality is going to come back. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
gotta.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be in week 2.
We'll see. I know. Look, the Lions could. I mean, I've seen it before where the Lions start like 7-2 and then go 1-8 the rest of the season. So
Yeah. You want to know why? Because Detroit football. That's what I see happening
exactly.
this year. I think they're going to get a hot start and then they'll taper off and fizzle out like they always do.
Well, my prediction is the hot start is 1-0, and then that's it. So we'll see.
Coming from a Bears fan, I don't know how much objectivity you have there, but talk to me
Man,
about Chargers at the Titans. We have two 0-win teams. What's your feeling there?
the Titans should have won week 1. If they get that fumble return for touchdown that was called incomplete pass, I still don't understand how or why on replay. If they get that, the Titans win the game. I don't anticipate Tannehill going 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions again. He's better than that. They didn't feed Derrick Henry enough. Feed him more. And give me the Titans to win at home against a Chargers team that, while great, while they got Justin Herbert, who's a great talent, and you got that wide receiver talent, their defense was awful in week 1. And even without the Dolphins' best tackle, they got 0 sacks on Tua, which is unacceptable when you have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Austin Eckler also is doubtful with an ankle injury. That's a huge loss. So give me the Titans at home to get to 1-1, and a very talented Chargers team starts 0-2. What do you think?
I think it's going to be one of those matchups that has a lot to do with the injuries on the team. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the Titans are really, really struggling in the secondary. Monty Cooker is recovering from a concussion. Christian Fulton is limited with a hamstring injury.
Yep.
It's not the best situation for a defense that'll have to, deal with a very balanced Chargers offense. I do know that the Chargers had 40 carries last week, and the defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons said, "Our mindset is nobody will run the ball on us." So that'll be an interesting matchup there because the Chargers were really run heavy, and the Titans are great against the run. So I'm going to be intrigued to see who wins that matchup there as far as the rush defense versus the offensive running game. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if Eckler doesn't play, that puts a lot more pressure on Josh Kelly. And if the Titans can stop Josh Kelly, then I think that forces the Chargers to be unbalanced and one-dimensional and pass happy. And that could lead to a couple of turnovers or whatever. And the Titans, maybe Derrick Henry gets more involved. And that's that's the recipe for how the Titans could pull it off.
I mean, the offense, I believe you. I'm with you on the offense. However, last season, their secondary allowed 275 yards per game, and their defense looked the same last week as it did last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, against Justin Herbert, who is, great throwing deep, he's got some great receivers. I'm just curious if there the offense for the Titans is going to be enough to overcome their shoddy defense.
That's true. That's a good point. The Achilles heel that I always say about the Chargers, what it comes down to, they're a great team. They're very talented across the board. What it usually comes down to for the Chargers is old head coach Brandon Staley going for it on fourth down when he shouldn't. A little turnover on down spark that shifts momentum, something like that. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, agreed. But that's one of those close ones that could go either way. Um,
Yeah,
which will be interesting against two teams who are trying very hard not to go 0-2.
exactly. My Bears at the Bucks. Um, Look, I couldn't be more down on my team right now than I've been in a long time. Like to start the year like that at home against Green Bay with no Aaron Rodgers and to look as bad as they did, and it's very glaring. Like the Bears have a lot of holes, a lot of needs, a lot of issues, and like I'm kind of speechless with this team and they're going to go into Tampa, and I got the Bucks winning this game. I think they start 0-2. The Bucks are better than people thought they were going to be. Baker looked good in week 1. I think he looks good again in week 2. Bears will be without Kyler Gordon, who had surgery for a broken hand. I think the Bears will look better, but not enough for the win. What do you think?
I think the Bears will look better than they did last week. I think that they have realized how much talent they have in their receiver DJ Moore. I think he'll be getting a lot more looks moving forward.
Yep.
Uh, he was only targeted on 5% of plays, but I think he's shown that he is ready and they can, look his direction. I agree though. I don't see Tampa Bay giving this one away. I love Baker Mayfield. I think that they're gonna have this one in the bag. There's, a great cornerback matchup there with Jalen Johnson on the Bears. He's
Yep.
off to a nice start. He played well against the Packers, but one defensive player can't win the game for you. And then, with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I mean, Baker's got so much talent to throw to. I
Yeah.
think that it's going to be, I don't want to say a blowout, but I see Tampa Bay taking this one pretty easily.
Yeah, and rookie Trey Palmer is pretty damn good too out of Nebraska. So they definitely have some talent for Baker. A lot of people are down on Baker. It didn't work out in Carolina last year. It didn't work out in Cleveland in the end. But Baker is still talented. And when he plays with a chip on his shoulder, he can still get it done. And I'm kind of rooting for him in Tampa, a kind of a third chance. And I hope that he has success in a wide open NFC South.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think Carolina knew what to do with him.
Yeah.
I think that was just not a good
Very,
fit. And I think
very
Cleveland did
poorly
him
coached.
dirty with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am ready for his second life in Tampa Bay. I think he's a starting quarterback and he just needed the right opportunity. And I mean, the coaching situation there is all for giving Tampa Bay's, I mean, they're known for giving people second chances. We've seen, retired people come back and play for them over the past few years. So I think they're going to be a good fit for him to prove himself.
And I love that defense too. You talk about Vita Vea, Levante David, Devin White, Antoine Winfield Jr. Like they got dogs on that team.
They do, for sure. So we're both picking the Bucks on that one.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Talk to me about the Chiefs. We've got them
Chiefs
coming into the season on a loss against the Jags, who pulled off a win. What are you thinking?
Chiefs are gonna start 0-2.
Okay.
I love this Jags team. I've been on this Jags team since the start of last season. Trevor Lawrence gives me Peyton Manning vibes, honestly. Like Trevor Lawrence, this could be an AFC Championship game preview right here. I love this Jags team. Calvin Ridley looked amazing. After 2 years off, he looked amazing in week one. And Evan Ingram is a perfect fit there with Trevor Lawrence. It didn't work out in New York. It's a much better fit in Jacksonville. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, the two running backs. I love what Jacksonville is cooking over there. And it all starts with Trevor Lawrence.
I agree. And I know that the Chiefs are looking to not become the fifth team in NFL history to start the season 0-2 after winning the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Of the previous four, only one has even made the playoffs. So that is not a
Yeah.
great place to start after winning a Super Bowl. I think that there's going to be some great matchups on the field. I mean, we've got Chris Jones back after
Yeah.
his holdout. He got his contract. I think he's gonna, earn his money in this game. He's definitely gonna get a sack. I think
Mhm.
maybe two. We'll see. But I think he's out to prove himself and play with a bit of the chip on his shoulder now that he got what he wanted there. But I think that the Jags offensive tackle Anton Harrison is going to be a pretty interesting situation to watch because he was pretty awful in week one. And I saw one of his post game interviews. He is really ashamed of how he played and he wants to do better and he's out to prove himself this week. So it'll be interesting to see how the Jags shows up against the, you know, defending Super Bowl champs in this situation. I do think a lot of it depends on if Travis Kelce plays or not.
And I've heard that Kelsey is expected to play, and that is big. I think they're going to get Kelsey and Chris Jones back, and I think it's going to have to be a shootout. I think it's one
I
of those
Yeah, agreed
like
for sure.
37-34 type games. And can Trevor Lawrence go toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes and come out with a win? If you want to be a superstar in this league, you want to take Jacksonville, you want to, contend for a championship, prove it. You're at home. If you can beat the Chiefs and get out to a 2-0 start, then everyone will start buying in. And I think Trevor Lawrence is a sneaky and maybe not sneaky MVP candidate this year.
Interesting take. I want to write that down and bring that one up at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think it's going to be upper 30s versus lower 30s. But I think the Chiefs are going to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, they should. They don't want to start 0-2. They're healthy. They got Kelsey and Jones back. No excuses. They feel like they should have beat Detroit. Let's see if Kadarius Toney can catch a pass this week. Sky Moore as well. So it's a very interesting game. This is the game of the week, in my opinion. All eyes are going to be on that matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I do think it'll be interesting to see everybody with all their drops last week after they've been berated by social media and their teammates and their families, to see how sticky their fingers are this week.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who have been, less good than they should have been coming into the season, let's talk Colts and Texans. We've got our
Hmm.
two rookie quarterbacks facing off, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. I know, you had your draft preferences there. How are you feeling about CJ with his shoulder injury? Is he supposed to be playing? Is he gonna have the week off? What do you think?
That's interesting. He kind of pops up on there late in the week with a shoulder injury. I hope that he plays. I think he will play through it. If he doesn't, then it's Davis Mills, and that's interesting. I hope he plays, though. Everyone wants to see the two rookies battle it out, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud. Yeah, these are my two top quarterbacks in the draft. Like, I would put both these guys ahead of Bryce Young. Based on the way Anthony Richardson looked in week one, I watched a lot of that Colts Jags game, and Anthony Richardson looked great. And CJ Stroud looks like, he's going to be solid as well. So this is a great matchup. Great story here with John Mechie making his NFL debut after beating leukemia and missing an entire year. So great to see him going to be on the field. Give me the man. This is a tough one. If CJ Stroud plays, give me the Texans. Give me the Texans. Even if Davis Mills plays, give me the Texans. I love Anthony Richardson. I think the Texans are the better team.
Okay. I'm taking the Colts on this one just because you and I have to disagree on a couple games here. So
Yeah.
I'll pick the Colts here, but I do think it's going to be a close one. I agree with the CJ Stroud play. If he plays, definitely a closer matchup. If he doesn't play, I think the Colts will pull it off either way. A fun fact about this game is this is only the second matchup with two quarterbacks under the age of 22 in NFL history. The last one was Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota in week 1 of 2015.
Yeah. That's a
So
throwback right there. I remember that matchup.
yeah, that it was the same kind of energy. Like we
Yeah.
just want to see these two young players play each other. They're the future of football. They're going to be a great matchup. And where are they both now? Is it's going to be interesting to see where we're at 8 years from now with these two young up and comers as well.
That that's one of my worst takes. One of my worst predictions. I thought Jameis Winston was Jesus Christ. I thought he could walk on water coming into the NFL. So
Yeah,
I gotta take that L a little bit.
yeah, it happens.
I love this matchup in the NFC West. The 1-0 49ers at the 1-0 Rams. The Rams shocked everybody going into Seattle and kicking the shit out of the Seahawks. I think it was like 30-13.
It
I
was
don't,
beautiful.
man, I don't think these Rams, I don't think that's who the Rams are. Like, I know Stafford looked good and Stafford can still ball, but I think the Niners go into SoFi and kick the shit out of the Rams. I think
Oh, agreed.
let's
The
it.
Niners
Let's
have won 8 straight games against the Rams, regular season
yeah,
games. The
man.
Niners have this one in the bag for sure.
Nobody wants to mess with the Niners this year. I think the Niners are on a mission. The Niners are pissed off that they didn't get a fair shake in the NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy getting hurt. The Niners might just run through the entire league this year.
Oh, agreed. And they're playing a team who's missing Jalen Ramsey, who is one of their star players. Like Brandon Ayuk is going to run all over that team. I don't think he's ever had two back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. I think he's going to this year. I think this is going to be number 2 for him.
Yeah, no Cooper Cup. I mean, that's huge. I don't think that Ben Skowronek or Puka Nakua or whoever that rookie is, that's not going to get it done. Give me the Niners big. Let's switch that score and say Niners 30, Rams 13, just to make things fair again.
Yeah, I like that. Also, you have to remember that Matt Stafford had no passing touchdowns last week. So yeah, they pulled off a
Wow.
win, but it wasn't the offense. And against that Niners defense, there is no way. So yeah, I'm with you on that pick for sure. All right, so let's look at your Giants, who you have some faith in,
Oh
and the Cardinals. What is your take on this game? Two 0-1
yeah.
teams,
So the Giants got embarrassed, right? What was the final score of that Giants Cowboys game?
40-0.
40-0. Let's keep with the theme here. Give me the Giants 40-0 over the Cardinals.
I mean, Joshua Dobbs said this week their offense is night and day compared to where it was a week ago. I don't know how much an NFL offense can change in a week, but he's got faith in the team, so I'll be intrigued.
The Giants are a lot better than they looked on Sunday night, and
Oh, agreed.
The Cardinals are terrible. And Jonathan Gannon, I didn't think it was possible to hire a worse coach than Cliff Kingsbury, and I think the Cardinals found a way to do it in hiring Jonathan Gannon. This Cardinals team is terrible. They're tanking on purpose. Give me the Giants 40 to nothing. I doubt, who knows if it'll be that bad, but I'm just gonna go there. You know what I mean?
I'll give you 30 to 10. I'm gonna pick the
Okay.
Giants with you here. Daniel Jones was under pressure a lot last week. He had pressure on 70% of his dropbacks against the Cowboys. So if they can, adjust that O-line
Mm-hmm.
and get the ball out to literally anyone, um, then I see it being a 20-point game for sure.
Yeah, give me a big Saquon Barkley game in this one.
Okay.
I'm rooting for. Jets at Cowboys. The Cowboys are the ones who kicked the shit out of the Giants 40 to nothing. The Jets surprised anybody going through that whole losing Aaron Rodgers and all the emotional roller coaster of that. Zach Wilson comes in and they still get the win. The amazing punt return in overtime. Uh, any chance the Jets can shock the world again and beat the Cowboys and get to 2-0? What do you think?
No. Wilson holds the ball too long. I mean, he's gonna get sacked. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times did they sack the Giants last week? I think they had 7 sacks against the Giants. That man is going to go down at least 5 times. There is no way. He clings to that ball like it's his favorite blanket, man. He will not let go of it. He is going to be flat half the game. I'll be surprised if he makes it through the game without having to go into concussion protocol at some point. There is
Yeah.
no way. And I'm kind of bummed about this game because I would have loved to see Aaron Rodgers against Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. I
That would have
know.
been so fun for me
No,
on the
it's
new team with the new coach. Like, yeah, we
yeah.
saw it in Green Bay, but I was really intrigued to see the New York Aaron Rodgers versus Mike McCarthy. But I guess we'll never know how that's going to go. But
Yeah.
I do not see the Jets pulling off another win this time.
The only way the Jets have a chance is if Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook go for like 150 each. You know what I mean? The only way to protect Zach Wilson is to feed those two running backs who are both capable of going off. That's the only way. You're not gonna drop back and throw it downfield and dice up the Cowboys. You're gonna
Yeah.
get sacked. You're gonna get pick sixed. Stuff like that. So Jets run the ball, play defense. If you can get Dak to throw a couple interceptions, maybe chaos. That's the only way you're gonna be in this game is if chaos happens.
I mean, yeah, but I'm
But
gonna
I agree with
vote
you.
against chaos and say Cowboys win it by 20.
I think so. I think Cowboys. I'll say Cowboys by 10. I think it's a better game, but Cowboys win it. I mean, some people are calling that defense like the '85 Bears, and I think
Mhm.
that's a bit of an overreaction to Week 1. Let's see how the Cowboys look in Week 2, if they're for real or not. We're still trying to figure out this Cowboys team too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of teams that are trying to figure it out, the Broncos offense has scored 16 or fewer points in 12 of its past 18 games.
Yeah,
How are we feeling about them playing at home, but the Commanders are coming to town and the Commanders have a win and the Broncos do not? How are we feeling about that matchup?
and the Commanders are getting Chase Young back for the first time. I mean, he rarely plays. He only played in 3 games last season. Chase Young to go with that nasty D line with Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen and those boys. That's not great. But give me the Broncos for the win. I don't think the Commanders are a good team. I think the Broncos win it. I think it's a close game though. I think the Broncos win like 19 to 16.
Okay. I know Judy appears to be on track to play,
Yeah.
but I
Yep.
don't think he's going to be full force.
Yep.
Um, I I see the Broncos winning, as much as it pains me to say. But man, they They have to get a pass rush going. I don't know what they were doing last week, but it was awful.
And no Frank Clark again. So that doesn't help things for the Broncos.
No, I mean Zach Allen played really well, the defensive tackle. He's doing his job, he's handling things on his end. But luckily for them, the Commanders' offensive line looks pretty weak.
Hmm.
So I think the Broncos can pull this one off.
Yeah, we'll see if Pat Surtain can pick six Sam Howell. A defensive score would really help things too. I'm
Agreed.
not a I'm not a Sam Howell guy. Sam Howell's got to prove it to me. This is kind of I think a wake up, for Eric Bieniemy. He goes from Patrick Mahomes to Sam Howell. I think that's a little bit of a rude awakening for him this year.
Yeah. I'll be intrigued to see where they're at, week 8, week 9, coming through the midpoint of the season.
Yeah, and this is a must win for Denver, really. Like you've struggled, you don't want to start 0-2. Like that would be a bad look. You want to get to 1-1 and at least contend for a playoff spot in that division.
Yeah, I mean, that division is an interesting place this year. We've got Kansas City, we've got Vegas who's doing their thing, and then, the Chargers. It's got a lot of talent in it, but they don't seem to be capitalizing on it this year. So the Broncos actually have a shot this year if they can fix their hiccups and pull it together.
Yeah, and they pissed me off in week 1. They should have beat the Raiders. They had opportunities to do it.
Yeah, it was a weird week. A lot of teams did not show up to play.
Yeah. So it's a week 2's big to see if these teams can bounce back and fix it, and not get out to terrible starts.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the Patriots' terrible start with their loss last week versus the Dolphins who pulled off their win. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Yeah, and the Patriots started out slow. They were down 16-0, multiple turnovers, fought back and had opportunities to beat the Eagles. They're at home again. I swear the Patriots are going to be better this year. You got Bill O'Brien, who's a massive upgrade over Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Bill Belichick's going to have that defense playing better. I like the Patriots this year. I think the Patriots might sneak into the playoffs. So give me the Patriots at home. They're gonna cool off the Dolphins. The Dolphins are not throwing it for 466 yards again. Give me the Patriots at home on Sunday Night Football.
Okay, we're gonna differ on that one. I'm taking the Dolphins,
Yeah,
uh, just because Tua has never lost to the Patriots.
that's
Um,
crazy.
he also has yet to throw for more than 300 yards against them, but I think he's going to. Um, I know that both teams have areas that they could improve. The Dolphins gave up 234 rushing yards in their season opener win. So, yeah, they still won the game, but they gave up a ton of yards. But in return, the Patriots running game was super ineffective. So one of those two is gonna get corrected, and I have more faith in Miami correcting their side of things than the Patriots. So I think Miami's front is gonna be a bit better than the Patriots run game. So I'm gonna give this one in a close game, but I'm gonna give it to the Dolphins.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a tough game. The Dolphins are a very talented team. They can Tua was incredible in week 1, and you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and those weapons. But this is more of the fan in me. I like Bill Belichick. I like the Patriots to be competitive, and I'm rooting for them to win. And the way you keep this game close and stay in it is with defense and running game. Ramondre Stevenson needs to go off. Zeke Elliott needs to do his part. He doesn't need to go for 100 yards, but if he can produce 50 and Ramondre go for 100 and then play defense, maybe, get pressure on Tua, maybe pick him off. That's how the Patriots can win this game. If you don't, the Chargers didn't get any sacks, any pressure on Tua. If you don't get pressure on them, they're going to beat you.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's gonna be one of those good games to watch. I think it's one of the best matchups of the week.
Yeah,
With the Rams Niners, and it'll be a fun one to watch for sure. Let's move to
absolutely.
Monday night. We've got a double header situation. One game starts at 7, one starts at 8. Um,
Yeah. I hate that, by the way.
Strange. I'm not a fan. I don't know why that is. I don't
Remember
understand the
when
point.
remember when they used to do back-to-back Monday nights week one?
Yeah,
I
but
love that because there was like a 10 o'clock kickoff and it was a late game and it was a lot of fun to have back-to-back. Two games at the same time makes zero sense. And why week two? What is is the NFL on acid? Like, what are we doing here?
oh, I don't know. Also, my thing is they went on and on about how, oh, we're going to shorten the preseason for player safety and we don't want, them playing games so many games, but they're having more games in the middle of the week, Monday and Thursday games. And
Yeah,
instead of, taking away preseason game, lengthening the season and giving an extra week off, they just added a regular season game. I don't understand how a
exactly.
regular season game, which means more than a preseason game, is going to protect the players. They just
No,
shifted the game. Like if
they
they
don't
really
get
wanted to protect the players, they would have added a second bye week in the season for each team.
absolutely. Sure, you could go 18 weeks, two buys for each team, and 16 games.
Yeah.
And if they cared about player safety, they would get rid of this stupid ass turf and play
Mhm.
on grass, and they wouldn't be playing, on short weeks and extra 17 games. You're 100% right on that.
Yeah. Well, and the Packers veteran David Bakhtiari, who's basically a sideline coach until game day when he's on the field, he
Hmm.
said that it's going to take more than Aaron Rodgers, four-time MVP's injury to get the turf situation changed, which to me is completely asinine.
Yeah,
But
and
we could go off on that all night, so I don't want to get
well,
on
let
my
me throw
soapbox.
one more in there. They'll gladly keep this nasty turf that people keep getting hurt on. But if Aaron Rodgers breaks his collarbone, oh, now you can't land with body weight on a quarterback. Like, make up your mind, NFL. Like, take care of the field and let's play real football. How about that?
Well, yeah, and the soccer, the World Cup, they're replacing the turf for that. The turf is
Yeah,
dangerous for soccer players, but it's fine for football players.
yeah, it's stupid.
All
It's
right.
politics, is what it
It
is.
is. It is. It's a hot mess. But let's talk Saints at Panthers.
So I'm really high on the Saints this year. Derek Carr looked good in week one, and I think the Saints team is I think they win the division and host a playoff game. I like the Saints team. They're still waiting to get Alvin Kamara back. Um, Jamal Williams is holding it down until then. Rashid Shaheed looked great. Michael Thomas caught what, 5 passes? That's the first time we've seen that in forever. Chris Olave is excellent. I like the Saints. I like them to go into Carolina and get to 2-0.
I mean, I can see the Saints winning pretty easily here. Um, Derek
Hmm.
Carr threw for 305 yards last week.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I mean, the Panthers were one of two teams that had no passes of more than 15 yards. That's I just don't even understand how you could attempt to win a game without a single pass that's more than 15 yards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my money is 100% on the Saints here because I just don't think the Panthers offense is clicking enough to do that. And I don't think their defense is ready for a 300-yard passing game. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
Saints
I
here.
think it's easier for CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson, both big body quarterbacks, to transition into the NFL game and be more successful quickly than it is for a little guy like Bryce Young to have success in the NFL with big dudes all around him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if Young loses this, he'll be the fifth out of six of the past number one picks to go 0-2 in their first two career starts. So he's in
Yeah,
good company. He's
yeah.
young. I think he will turn into a great quarterback. I just don't think that they're
Not
fully
yet.
ready to start winning yet.
Yeah, exactly. How about I love this matchup. I'm not even really going to pay attention to Saints Panthers. All my attention is going to be on Brown Steelers. I think this is one of the better matchups of the week. What do
Yep.
you think?
I love this matchup. I love Nick Chubb. The
Hmm.
Steelers are 5-0-1 when they hold Chubb to fewer than 80 rushing yards.
Okay.
Um, So that's the stat to watch right there. Like, how many yards does he have? Um, but I mean, McCaffrey went for 152 yards. So
Hmm.
it's oh God, it's such a good running back game that I'm ready for this game. I'm annoyed we have to wait till Monday for it. Uh, but it's going to be a fun one to watch. I know that since 2007, the Browns QBs rank last in completion percentage. And 2007 was Mike Tomlin's first year as the Steelers coach. So he knows what, the Browns quarterback situation looks like. He knows how to handle that. So that'll be something interesting to watch because, that divisional game, he has all the insight on their QB room.
Yeah, 100%. It's gonna, I love uh division rivalry games. And this has desperation on it too. The Steelers are 0-1. They don't want to start 0-2. They got embarrassed at home in week 1. Not even competitive. The Browns looked great in their week 1. The defense looked nasty. That defense might be legit. Everyone's talking about the Cowboys defense. This Browns defense, you got Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson on that D line, and they were nasty. I mean, shut Joe Burrow down under 100 yards passing. Doesn't get no better than that.
Yeah. They
So, and then, so Josh always laughs and makes fun of the Browns because he always calls them the Cleveland Oranges, right?
yeah.
With their helmets and their jersey color and all that.
Yeah, but who
In
wants to
this
wear
game,
brown? I mean, cut them some slack, man.
but why do you call them the Browns if they're wearing orange? That's what he doesn't like.
Listen, that
But
team was named so long ago. The players who have to wear their uniforms in 2023 shouldn't have to carry that mantle. I mean, let them wear something besides shit brown. Come on, cut them some slack.
well, how about this? On Monday night, they're going to be the Cleveland Whites. They're going to be wearing their white helmets, white jerseys, and white pants.
Let's not call them the Cleveland Whites, though. That's almost as racist as that Kirk Cousins KFC commercial.
That's true. That's true. But I'm looking forward. I kind of like these jerseys. They're different. It's going to be an interesting look. And we'll see if the Browns can get a big road win, gets a 2-0. That'd be a very impressive start.
Are we both rooting for the Browns?
Yeah, I am.
Dang. All right, we gotta disagree more because I like being
Well,
right and you being wrong like last week. I mean, how many picks did you get wrong?
well, let's see. So you're taking the Dolphins. I'm taking the Patriots. Uh, you're taking the Colts. I'm taking the Texans.
Yeah, I think we differ on 3 picks this week.
Did you take the Chiefs or the Jags? You took the Chiefs, right?
I took the Chiefs, yeah.
Yeah, I got the Jags.
Okay, so it's four. It's four this week. Okay. Yeah, last
Uh,
week you were all over the place. What was your record for the week?
I started out great. I think I finished under 500. I think I was like
Yeah.
6-7. But
Yeah, I got two wrong. So
I'll bounce back this week. You got lucky. You know how it goes.
oh, yeah, okay. Just can't wait to
I'm
get
just
lucky
kidding.
for 18 weeks. Anyway,
We
that's
should keep track of our picks and see how we do.
absolutely. Let's do it. It's on.
Uh, but good shit, man. That was a fun episode, huh?
It was. It's
I
gonna
can't,
be a fun week of football too. So we'll see
yeah,
everybody back here for our recap.
absolutely. I'm gonna try to get a player interview each week for our recaps, and keep the content coming out. So it's gonna be a great season. We're just getting started. It's fun to talk football, and thanks for coming on, Amanda. Good shit as always.
Of course. You have a great night, Alex.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, everyone who listened. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think, and peace out.